February's jobs report just dropped, and the number that matters most isn't what Wall Street expected. 92,000 jobs vanished from the U.S. economy last month. This is Money Moves Daily. I'm here to cut through the noise and tell you what this data actually means for your wallet, your career, and your financial decisions. Because behind that headline number is a story about two very different Americas, one where wages are climbing and another where they've nearly flatlined. Economists predicted 50,000 new jobs. Instead, we got negative 92,000. That's a swing of nearly 150,000 jobs from expectations. This wasn't supposed to happen. The labor market was the one thing holding the economy together. Now it's flashing warning signs that deserve your attention. And here's what really caught my eye. The gap between what high earners and low earners are seeing in their paychecks has never been wider. Let's break down what's happening, why it matters, and what you can actually do about it. Starting with the raw numbers. For context, the labor market has been the pillar holding up consumer spending throughout the post-pandemic era. Even as inflation ate into purchasing power, jobs kept people spending. When people have jobs, they buy things. When they buy things, businesses hire more people. It's the virtuous cycle that keeps the economic engine running. But that engine has been sputtering. February marked the third time in the past 5 months that payrolls actually declined. This isn't a one-month anomaly. The Bureau of Labor Statistics reported that U.S. payrolls fell by 92,000 in February. Economists surveyed by major outlets had expected a gain of 50,000. The unemployment rate ticked up to 4.4%, rising from 4.3% the previous month. That tenth of a point represents real people losing income. December's numbers were also revised downward. What was initially reported as job gains turned out to be a 17,000 job decline once the final data came in. Now, some of February's losses can be attributed to specific events, but the pattern underneath tells a more concerning story about structural weakness building in the job market. Healthcare lost 28,000 jobs in February, largely due to a strike at Kaiser Permanente. That's a significant hit to what's usually a steady employment sector. Leisure and hospitality shed 27,000 positions. Construction lost 11,000. These are the industries that put working-class Americans to work. Weather played a role too. Severe conditions in parts of the country disrupted work schedules and hiring. But weather impacts tend to reverse the following month. Federal payrolls have declined by 330,000 jobs since October 2024. That represents 11% of the total federal workforce eliminated in under 18 months. Those federal job losses ripple outward. Government employees spend money in local economies. When they lose income, so do the businesses that serve them. Here's where it gets really interesting. Despite the weak job numbers, average hourly earnings actually rose 0.4% monthly, lifting the annual rate to 3.8%. So wages are rising overall, but that average masked something important. Not everyone is seeing the same growth, and the divergence is historic. According to Bank of America Institute data, higher income wage growth rose to 4.2% year over year. Meanwhile, lower income growth slowed to just 0.6%. Middle-income earners saw growth of just 1.2%. That gap between the top and everyone else is the widest since Bank of America began tracking this data. Think about what that means in practical terms. If you're earning a higher salary, your raises are outpacing inflation. If you're in a lower-wage job, inflation is eating your lunch. This divergence isn't just an abstract economic concept. It shapes who can afford housing, who can save for retirement, and who's living paycheck to paycheck. The average duration of unemployment reached 25.7 weeks. That's the longest since December 2021. Job searches are taking longer than they have in years. 6 months of unemployment isn't just financially devastating. It affects mental health, depletes savings, and can leave gaps on resumes that future employers question. And there's a compounding effect. The longer someone is out of work, the harder it becomes to get back in. Skills atrophy. Networks fade. Confidence erodes. The Bank of America Institute noted, quote, The gap between higher income wage growth and other cohorts is the largest since the beginning of the data series, end quote. Now, there's debate about what's causing this divergence. Some economists point to automation displacing lower wage work. Others cite the decline of union power. Remote work flexibility tends to favor white-collar positions. Service workers can't answer tables or stock shelves from home. The pandemic accelerated advantages that were already building. The question isn't really whether this gap exists. The data makes that clear. The question is what it means for the economy going forward and what individuals can do about it. Consumer spending drives roughly 70% of U.S. GDP. When lower and middle-income households have less purchasing power, that shows up in economic growth eventually. Some analysts argue February's weakness reflects temporary factors. The Kaiser strike, severe weather, and seasonal adjustment corps could reverse in coming months. Others see something more structural. 3 negative payroll prints in 5 months isn't noise. It's a pattern that suggests the labor market's post-pandemic strength may be fading. The Fed is watching these numbers closely. A weakening labor market could accelerate their timeline for rate cuts, which would affect mortgages, car loans, and savings rates. For now, the Fed has held rates steady at 5.25%. That's the third consecutive hold, and historically, triple hold patterns have often preceded cuts. So what does all this mean for you? Let me be clear, this is not financial advice, but there are practical frameworks worth considering based on where you sit. If you're currently employed, now is the time to update your resume even if you're not job hunting. Networks and skills rust when you don't maintain them. Consider upskilling in areas showing persistent demand. Technology, healthcare administration, and skilled trades have shown relative resilience even when other sectors struggle. The average unemployment duration of nearly 26 weeks means job searches are marathons, not sprints. Your emergency fund should reflect that reality. Financial planners historically suggest 3 to 6 months of expenses and liquid savings. With unemployment stretching longer, some research suggests aiming closer to 6 months or beyond. If you're actively job hunting, expand your search radius geographically and across industries. Flexibility tends to reduce time between positions based on historical patterns. For those in lower wage positions facing that 0.6% growth, research which employers in your industry offer better wages and benefits. Not all companies are equal. Industry switching is easier than it used to be. Many skills transfer across sectors. Customer service, project management, and data analysis appear in job descriptions everywhere. And here's something that costs nothing. Start having conversations before you need them. Reach out to former colleagues. Join industry groups. Relationships open doors that applications can't. Pay attention to which companies are hiring versus which are announcing layoffs. Job boards tell one story. Earnings calls and news coverage often tell another. The next few months of jobs data will clarify whether February was an anomaly or the start of something more significant. One report doesn't establish a trend. But the wage divergence data isn't a single-month story. That gap has been widening for over a year. It reflects deeper structural shifts in how the economy rewards different kinds of work. Those shifts aren't going to reverse because of any single policy or economic cycle. They require systemic responses that take years to implement and longer to show results. In the meantime, individual decisions matter. How you position yourself professionally, how you manage your savings, and how you build skills all compound over time. The pattern of 3 declining payroll months out of 5 isn't something to dismiss. Historically, that kind of volatility has often preceded broader economic shifts. That doesn't mean recession is imminent. Plenty of indicators remain positive. But it does mean the labor market deserves more attention than it got when job growth seemed automatic. If you found this breakdown useful, hit subscribe. We cover these kinds of signals every week, connecting the numbers to what they actually mean for your decisions. The data we discussed today comes from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, the Bank of America Institute, and analysis from major financial news outlets. Links in the description. These are preliminary numbers. The BLS revises employment data in subsequent months, so February's final picture may look different. That's worth keeping in mind. 92,000 jobs lost, unemployment at 4.4%. wage growth that's leaving lower earners behind. These are the signals, and they're worth watching. The smart move isn't to panic over one jobs report. It's to know which data points deserve your attention and to position yourself accordingly. I'm Money Moves Daily. Remember, this content is for educational purposes only and does not constitute financial advice. Always consult with a qualified financial advisor before making investment decisions. Keep watching the numbers, keep building your skills, and keep making moves that compound in your favor. I'll see you in the next episode.